Good, excuse me. Good Monday morning. Welcome into Morning JOX, JOX 94.5. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order. We have hit single digits in our countdown to Christmas. Christmas officially 9 days away. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful weekend. Enjoyed a little time off. Got a chance to I mean, I went to a Titans game and I just kind of leave it like that. No, the result was not what I wanted. But I will say this, the resounding cheers from the crowd when Mason Rudolph took the field after Will Levis threw his third interception, which equated to a pick six, kind of tells you the signs of the times for the Tennessee Titans. We're about like Auburn. We just keep saying we're a quarterback away. How many more years can we keep saying we're a quarterback away? Best one we had was Marcus Mariota. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was nice, but that was mostly Derrick Henry doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But great time nonetheless. Had a great time in Nash Vegas. Had a wonderful, wonderful time. Got a chance to see my friends and everything, hang out, have a good time. But this time yesterday, I had more optimism. I was like, hey, it's a new day. We'll see what to expect. And then the Titans did what the Titans do. I felt good in first quarter, up 14-7. Looking at all the Cincy fans, they're frustrated. They're like, oh, man, this season's tanking. All of a sudden, a couple interceptions, a couple turnovers, and Cincinnati scored, I think 28 unanswered points, and we end up losing the ball game. But hey, not gonna ruin my my Monday morning because we are here. We have a great show for you. A lot of news in college football over the weekend. If you're an Auburn fan, definitely want to get your reaction as former Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold officially makes himself an Auburn Tiger after we know he hit the transfer portal after the season. We saw some highs, we saw some lows from Jackson Arnold. Of course, when you beat Bama, that's when everybody shoots you to the stratosphere and forget your stats throughout the season. But I'm interested at surface level how Auburn fans feel about Jackson Arnold because one, he didn't play against you when you lost to Oklahoma. That was Michael Hawkins Jr. But now that he is an Auburn Tiger, I'm interested to see just where the pulse of the fan base is because I got a lot of mixed reaction on social media. Some guys saying, this could be great. Some people saying, this feels like Peyton Thorne 2.0. Talent-wise, he's not – I don't think he's as bad as he looked, but he is extreme – he's inconsistent. And I think one of the reasons why he was pulled at Oklahoma was because of some of the turnovers he had, some of the play decisions that he was making. But I'm kind of looking at it, or trying my best to look at it from an optimistic view of, all right, well, one, you think his receiving core when he was at Oklahoma, they were hurt. A lot of them were hurt. It didn't really have the gel with Deion Burks as what we thought that we would get because Burks ended up getting hurt. But at the surface level, it doesn't seem bad. But I came away thinking, okay, for Hugh Freeze in year 3, it has to work. There's no, we can probably, give him some time. This thing has to work from the jump. And I think there's a lot of pressure in that, but also this is what comes with being a quarterback in the SEC. And again, he got pulled in Oklahoma with the offense that was kind of geared toward his strengths. So I'm interested just to see what it will look like for Auburn. So Conrad, I want to know your thoughts about this Jackson Arnold thing in Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think like we were talking about with a lot of these guys, whether it was Miller Moss or a Malik Murphy or a Thomas Castellanos. I guess Malik Murphy a little bit different than some of these other guys in the situation of a lot of these guys, as we talked about. You're going to have to sell the Auburn fan base on, hey, this is a guy that just got benched at the school he was playing at in 2024. This is going to be your starting quarterback in 2025. And that doesn't mean that these, none of those guys are going to turn out to be, have successful seasons next year starting quarterbacks. We know a lot of those guys have already found landing spots. And so it's just, again, it's like you were saying, you have to make it work this season.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, well, let's bring this guy in and develop him for a year. And then hopefully, now we're set moving forward with either him or Deuce Snyder. And no, like you need a guy that's going to come in and I think be able to win you at least 7 or 8 ball games in the regular season next year. You have to have that. And maybe Jackson Arnold's that guy, but again, I just think it's kind of hard to sell people on, hey, this is a guy that got benched. Like you said, they kind of totally tailored that team to him this year. That's a big part of why they are willing to say or let Dylan Gabriel go. It was actually interesting. There was saw an interview with Dylan Gabriel from over the weekend where he had essentially said that part of the reason he left Oklahoma is because they were ready to move on to Jackson Arnold, and he said that he didn't want to come back for another year, cause Jackson Arnold to hit the transfer portal, and then put Oklahoma in a difficult situation long term at the quarterback position. Kind of ironic how that ended up not happening, and he still ended up hitting the portal. But that, I think, just kind of goes to show you they had a guy that they could have paid a lot of money to come back that was top 3 or 4 quarterback in college football, and they wanted to move on to the Jackson Arnold era, and it didn't work. And part of that is, yes, you had 5 wide receivers that were out for the majority of the year. And again, he's a young guy. I know he only threw 3 interceptions on the season, but he did have turnover trouble early on. He fumbled the ball a lot. That is another part of that turnover stat, and that was a big problem that he had as well. And I mean, it's there, right? Like you go and you see the Auburn social media post of the highest rated quarterback, in Auburn history. Then they put out the tweet about the quarterback room, which was kind of funny because that one didn't age very well with
Not at all.
Walker White hitting the portal. But I mean, again, this is the highest rated quarterback prospect that has ever stepped foot within the Auburn program. And, I know there are a lot of people saying, well, the last time Auburn got a transfer quarterback over Mississippi State, it was Cam Newton. If you think Jackson Arnold's going to be Cam Newton, I don't think that's going to work out for you. I would just put it that way. But I mean, look, I'm optimistic. I think if Hugh Freeze identified him as the guy, and this is the vision that he has moving forward, and he thinks that he can run the offense the way it's meant to be run, then, more power to him. I think the reality of the situation, though, is, and it doesn't mean that he's not going to be a good quarterback, but you didn't have a Cam Ward or a Dylan Gabriel in the transfer portal this year. You were going to have to kind of, to a certain degree, roll the dice on one of these guys, and I understand why you would want to go with a guy that has SEC experience. He did beat Alabama, for all the jokes that people can make about that. He did beat Alabama. But I think the reality of it is whoever Auburn got out of the portal, unless some big name got in there that we didn't expect, you were going to have to kind of convince yourself that it was going to work out, I think, if you were an Auburn fan. And that doesn't mean that it's not going to, but, again, I just don't know that Jackson Arnold or any of those other guys that were rumored to, be visiting Auburn, I just don't know if any of them jump off the page and get you fired up as a fan base. I could be wrong. Like, we want to hear from Auburn fans this morning, 205-834-9450. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the move, but I mean, I just know going back over the last couple of weeks, Damian, when, ever since Jackson Arnold went in the portal and it immediately came pretty obvious that Auburn was going to be one of the teams in the mix for him, I just don't feel like we got a lot of Auburn fans that were kind of banging on the door hoping that this was going to be the guy. And it even seemed like last week, I heard from more Auburn fans that were interested in the Malik Murphy route over the Jackson Arnold route. And ultimately now here we are with Jackson Arnold committing to Auburn. So and maybe that changed, maybe now that he's your quarterback, you're, ready to move forward with that. And you're excited now that you know who the guy is. But I don't know. I don't feel like the Auburn fans are as excited.
And I think that's where I'm kind of on the fence about, okay, when we look at just natural talent, he's there. And it's so funny too, because we asked Jeffrey Lee on 3-Man Front the other day when I hopped in. I was like, okay, kind of just tell me, give me a read of the quarterback room as it is right now. He's like, well, Deuce Knight, he's going to come in, whether they get Malik Murphy or Jackson Arnold, they're going to be expected to compete. And then he brought up Walker White. He's like, Walker White, talent-wise, he could do it. It's the only thing that was different from the rest of those guys was the experience. He was saying, Malik Murphy, Jackson Arnold, they've played, high-level college football. They've been out there. They will get the reps. But I'm not saying it's not going to work. I just find it difficult right now at surface level to believe that it is because of the fact that he had those struggles at Oklahoma. And there were some people comparing it to Zach Calzada. And if you watched Incarnate Word this weekend. Zach Calzada did not have the best of days, but also that South Dakota State team is nobody to play with. But I look at what Jackson Arnold possesses. I mean, he can run. We saw that against Alabama. Um, but I think there's enough inconsistencies in the pass game to make you yield a little bit as far as expectation. And I think that's where I am with Jackson Arnold. It's a kind of a wait and see approach because I do think his upside is tremendous. But man, if we haven't seen it yet, it's hard to just put all my chips in the table of saying, yeah, this is going to work out. But that's why we have next season. That's why I'll put it like I'd ask the question, if you're an Auburn fan, would you rather, if Peyton Thorne had another year of eligibility, would you take him or would you take Jackson Arnold? Because I do think the upside for Jackson Arnold is he's accurate when he's locked in, but we've seen the sample size enough to where, okay, there might be some caution. There just might be a little bit of caution, but I think that it'll be interesting to see where it goes. 205-834-9450. Your text messages, your calls are always welcome here on Morning Jocks. We got so much to get to over the weekend. We have a Heisman Trophy winner. We have, again, more transfer portal news, coaching changes. Bill Belichick is officially a North Carolina Tar Heel. So much more. Keep it locked right here on Morning Jocks and Jocks 94.5.
6:15 here on your Monday morning. Welcome into Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damien, we are both back. Haven't been a lot of days that we've been here together lately, and well, that's not going to change here for the next week at least. But once we get back from Christmas, everything will be all, it is how it is. We all try to, we all
Use them or lose them.
Well, exactly. And we all want to be here during college football season, and the nature of how it is for us. I don't know, maybe this is a little look behind the scenes, but the reality of it is we kind of store our days up because we don't want to take off time during college football season, and then you have to kind of play the waiting game of, well, is Alabama going to be in the college football playoff, and that kind of impacts how we might be able to take time off, and so you end up in a situation where Alabama doesn't make the playoff, and so everybody's scrambling to, oh, well, now we can take these days off because we don't have a team from our state here in the college football playoff. But no, appreciate y'all hanging with us. It's been fun kind of getting different faces in, mixing and matching, getting to kind of just work around with the whole staff and just making things work here on JOX 94.5. But if you're just tuning in, we spent the first segment talking about Jackson Arnold, the former Oklahoma Sooner, committed to Auburn over the weekend. Expected that he will be Auburn's quarterback one. Again, as we kind of talked about, I would expect Deuce Knight's going to have a chance to come in there and compete for the job. And there's a belief that another quarterback I'll get to in a second is going to come in there, and maybe he, you would imagine all these guys are going to be competing, but with the pedigree that Jackson Arnold has, and I would imagine the dollar amount that was attached to him, you would think that he's going to be the starting quarterback for Auburn in 2025. But there's other portal news to get to for the Auburn Tigers as well as Alabama. But keeping on with Auburn, to go with Jackson Arnold, we briefly mentioned it, but Walker White, the four-star quarterback from last year's recruiting class, he has decided to hit the portal. I know a lot of people were speculating that it may be something to do with a health matter with some of his family members. But according to people that cover the program, that is not a factor, and it's not a bad situation to where he's having to go back home to tend to his family. He has just decided that the best decision for his future is to get in the portal, and so we will see where he ultimately ends up. But if you're keeping track, that is every quarterback that Auburn had on their roster, every scholarship quarterback from this year is now going to be gone because Holden Geriner is in the portal.
Yep.
Walker White is now in the portal. Peyton Thorne is graduating. And Hank Brown over the weekend committed to Iowa. So all four of your scholarship quarterbacks from this Auburn football team are now gone. And you are starting fresh with Jackson Arnold, Deuce Knight, and potentially Ashton Daniels, the quarterback from Stanford. Supposedly he got into Auburn last night, and he was visiting yesterday and today. And so we will hopefully get some news this week about Ashton Daniels and a guy that would probably come in and be your backup quarterback and more of a developmental guy, again, come in there to compete. But again, we think Jackson Arnold will be the guy moving forward. You also had linebacker Laquan Robinson, who hit the portal for the Auburn Tigers. But you did get yesterday, and this is a big one for Auburn, Virginia Tech's left tackle, Xavier Chaplin. He started every game the last 2 years for the Hokies. He only gave up 2 sacks this year, so that's a big one for Auburn, a guy that can immediately come in and plug and play on the offensive line because we need that. Again, the Stanford quarterback Ashton Daniels visiting today. You got UConn running back Darrell Robinson. He came out of the portal, and he had a really nice year for a UConn team that, again, I think we all just kind of assume that UConn kind of sucks every year, and they were good this year. Like,
yeah,
especially for UConn standards, they were quite good. And just ask any UAB fan that watched that game. But yeah, so you get the UConn running back out of the transfer portal, and then a little bit of coaching news as Auburn linebackers coach Josh Aldridge agreed yesterday on a 2-year deal to leave the Tigers and become the new defensive coordinator at East Carolina. So that's your big news there for the Auburn Tigers. We're going to get to your phone calls and your texts here in a minute, but I did want to hit on Alabama as well. So the big news for Alabama, Justice Haynes, the running back, hits the portal over the weekend, and I don't think that was a huge surprise. Again, a guy that I guess we were led to believe he was a little banged up down the stretch, and that's why he didn't get as much playing time. But again, you could just kind of look at that running back room as a whole from this year, and it didn't turn out to be what we thought it was going to be, and the strength we thought it was going to be for Alabama. And with Jam Miller coming back, and you would assume Richard Young coming back, it kind of makes sense that Justice Haynes would head on out. But it looks like some early reports. I believe he's visiting Ole Miss and South Carolina this weekend. And then Ohio State, Michigan, also, and Florida are also teams that are in the mix there for Justice Haynes. You also had Devontae Smith, the safety. He hits the portal for Alabama. And again, kind of stings because he was a good player, but he's been injured throughout his career, unfortunately. And I think what you saw from Bray Hubbard late in the season, and then Keon Sabb coming back from injury next year, kind of makes sense that you're going to have somebody back out of that defensive back room, and people, it seems like Deshaun Jones is going to take over that Husky position from him next year. You also have Dylan Lonergan, the quarterback. He is going to visit Georgia this week. So that's what everybody wanted to see. You also have, Jaleel Hurry, the defensive back who hit the portal. He has decided he's going to Kansas. Miles McVay, the offensive lineman, is going to be visiting North Carolina, and Bill Belichick this week, so good for him. And then for some guys potentially coming in, you had North Carolina State receiver Casey Concepcion, who had his visit over the weekend. Heard that went really well. Some other teams in the mix, but Alabama seems to be in a good spot there. And then today, Mississippi State receiver Mario Craver is going to be in Tuscaloosa taking a visit. Had 368 yards, 3 touchdowns last year as a freshman. So some wide receivers there to keep an eye on if you're Alabama. But the big news, again, for Auburn, Jackson Arnold coming in at quarterback, and Xavier Chaplin, the left tackle from Virginia Tech. Those are two nice pieces right there for Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, until you said it out loud, I didn't really think about it. But yeah, every scholarship quarterback Auburn had last season,
they're all gone.
They're gone. Oh, boy. Just
no excuses now, right? I mean,
no. I mean, if
that is crazy though. Like, I'm just trying to think
every
of the
single
last
one
time
of them.
They're all gone.
Empty room. Like,
and
imagine
that's gonna be more
Deuce,
common now, but
imagine
still.
if you're Deuce Knight, you walk in there, it's like, okay, well, this ain't the same squad I walked in with.
I was about to say, is he already on campus? Because he would be the longest tenured quarterback there in the quarterback room for Auburn. If that was the case. I will say real quick on Deuce Knight, I did see he won the MVP of the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game over the weekend, had a big day, like 170 passing yards, 130 rushing yards, something like that. So big day for him, and that's a good sign for Auburn fans.
Yeah, and he had some I don't know if you got a chance to hear Cam Newton because he was talking about, I want to wear number 2.
Yeah, he said, ball out this year and then come talk to me or something like that.
Yeah. In other words, you know, Cam kept it. He kept it unprofessional. Now it's like, nah, big dog, we ain't just gonna hand you number 2. And I didn't realize until I, started racking my brain. They don't, all the jerseys all the numbers that the Heisman trophies winner at Auburn have, they don't give them out. Like, nobody's worn number 7 since Pat Sullivan. Nobody's worn 34 since Bo. And
it's like retiring their numbers,
right? Which is kind of cool. But yeah, Deuce, you just simmer down. We'll get you there.
Yeah, you can be 22. You can be Deuce. Right. I don't know. I'm just trying to give him ideas. I don't know. 205-834-9450. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's talk to our buddy Josh in Birmingham. Wants to talk some Auburn with us. What's going on, Josh?
How you doing? Good morning, guys.
Hey, man, no complaints this morning. How we feeling?
I'm pretty good on the way to work. I just want to make a couple comments about the Jackson Arnold signing. I think the first thing I want to say is I think anybody that's looking at this like Peyton Thorne 4-0, I think that's a little short-sighted. Peyton Thorne was a mid-level 3-star quarterback coming out of high school. He was actually committed to Western Michigan before Michigan State came in and swooped him up. It's not like this guy was a composite 5-star quarterback coming out of high school and it just didn't work out.
Yeah,
he's been who he is his entire career, and that's a mid-level average starter. When he has a clean pocket and everybody's open, he can deliver a decent ball. When the play breaks down or things don't go exactly right, he is who he's always been, which is, an average player. That's not saying anything bad about him. I think he came to Auburn. I think he fought hard, and to be completely honest, I think given the situations that he's been put in, I think he did the best that he probably could. A lot of this is on Hugh Freeze. far as, the personnel, not really developing an offensive line that, they pick and choose when they want to pass block. So, I mean, things haven't always been perfect for Peyton, and I think that's why he looked the way that he looked. We didn't do a lot to help him. Now, as far as Jackson Arnold goes, like I said, composite 5-star coming out of high school. He went to Oklahoma. He's shown flashes, his entire time there. But like you guys said, he's also been inconsistent. But I think the personnel at Auburn, if you look at it from about 2 years ago to now, I think it's better than what Oklahoma has. And if you go back and watch that game, Auburn was dominating that game up front on both sides of the ball. There was one really big mistake in the fourth quarter, and I don't put that mistake on Peyton, because why are you throwing the ball on 4th and 2 when you've been running it down there throw it all day? Not only do you throw the ball, you call an RPO, and this kid struggled with the RPO system the entire time he's been at Auburn. That I don't understand. But I think I like the Jackson Arnold signing. As far as, not having a single scholarship quarterback left, the only reason I don't care about that is because what does that quarterback room give you? It was a revolving door at one point at quarterback this year. And, looking at Walker White, you had an opportunity. We saw Hank, we saw Holden, and, it just wasn't – no one was consistent. No one, really took that job. And even though we went back to Peyton, it was more so like it wasn't that, a light came on with Peyton. It was just like, well, the guys behind him, they damn sure ain't ready. So we didn't, we really didn't have a choice. So
yeah,
I'm optimistic about, what the quarterback room is going to look like. I'm really optimistic about what the personnel around the quarterback is going to look like this year.
Right.
If they can bring in, I want to say this. There's one element about this offense all year that I think was overlooked, that I think really could have helped them in a lot of areas, and that was not having Brian Battie. When you have kind of a do-it-all back who can, carry the ball, he can stretch, they can run stretch plays with him. He's fast, and he can catch it out of the backfield. We really didn't have that element. Jarquez is a decent receiver, but he's not what Brian Battie was.
Mm-hmm.
And we really missed him in the special teams, return game. And I think that was going to be a guy this year that I think was going to be featured heavily in the offense that, unfortunately we weren't able to have.
So Josh,
like I said.
Well, I just wanted to ask you real quick. So with Jackson Arnold now being the guy, do you have like a number of an expectation for Auburn next year, like a number of wins you think that they're going to be at now with Jackson Arnold moving forward?
Everyone's looking at their schedule and saying, their schedule's, terrible. I don't see it that way. Auburn traditionally, their schedule is a top 10 schedule every single year. There's no such thing as an easy schedule at Auburn. So I don't think it's any different than what we've had in the past. So looking at their schedule, looking at, the personnel that they have coming back and the potential that, they can get even better in the portal, I think, if they can get to a competitive 7 wins, maybe 8 wins, I think that has to be your floor this year. And there's no reason why you can't. You're recruiting at a high level. You're bringing in, top guys out of the portal. And you have a guy who, and Hugh Freeze, theoretically, is a good football coach. He just, he's yet to show it at Auburn. But I don't think there's a reason why they can't get to 7, 8 wins comfortably. And I think the ceiling for this team, given that they stay healthy and things kind of come together, there's no telling, they could be going into the Iron Bowl with a chance to win 9 to 10 games this year. But I think the floor has to be, not 7 and you get blown out by all the good teams you play. I think it has to be, if you do only win 7 games this year, I think it has to be extremely competitive.
Like what you got from Florida this year, like beating Ole Miss or somebody like that, have a big win.
There has to be a proof of concept where, you start seeing this team, essentially the light comes on and they turn the corner. I think that's the only way he keeps his job. If they go out and they win 5, 6 games and they look how they look this year, there were times this year, I'm going to be honest, they looked like they didn't practice. As far as just how, confused the offensive line was. Auburn ain't been able to block a twist in about 4 or 5 years. And, I just think those things have to be fixed before we, start worrying about who's playing quarterback, to be completely honest. But that's all I got. I'm going to hang up and, listen to what you guys have to say.
Hey, Josh, we appreciate you, buddy. Man, he pulled a Hastings, dog.
I know. That was a good call.
It was. He was. He's optimistic. And I appreciate that because what I was reading on social media and some of the things I was looking at, and I mean, it's just kind of some people are like, yeah, like Auburn's going to be better. And then other people are like, well, he struggled at Oklahoma. How can we just, put all our chips on this table? But I mean, when the quarterback room is empty, you got to go. You got to go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so tell me this. I think so going into next year, like right now, as it stands right now, I'm more optimistic about Auburn with Jackson Arnold than I was going into this year with Peyton Thorne.
Yes. Yes.
And I think that's where a lot of people are is, okay, maybe it's not, a surefire thing, but you have more reason for optimism.
Exactly.
And kind of like he was talking about again. I mean, this was a guy that by some places was the number one quarterback recruit a year ago.
Yeah.
There's clearly talent there. It's just maybe Hugh Freeze is the guy to get it out of him. Well, time will tell.
Absolutely. And he brought up a great point, too. The personnel around Jackson is going to be better. At least that's what I'm leaning on. Like, Cam Coleman's going to be back for another year. Malcolm Simmons going to be out there. Like, you're going to have the pieces around you, and they're another year in the system. So I think, all things considered, you look at the whole landscape, there's a reason why you should be optimistic. We'll continue with the phone lines. Your text messages, 205-834-9450. We'll continue the conversation on the other side about Auburn's transfer portal. And is Jackson Arnold, is he the one to go to? Keep it locked right here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:36 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order. And you as well, our wonderful listeners, 205-834-9450. Of course, the big news here in the state of Alabama, Jackson Arnold, former Oklahoma quarterback, announces he will be taking his talents to the Plains to be an Auburn Tiger, kind of set to be QB1. And we're just getting your reaction from a lot of news over the weekend from the transfer portal. Of course, the portal window is open. Of course, Travis Hunter, Colorado defensive back / wide receiver, ends up taking the Heisman in pretty convincing fashion when you got the votes. And it's like, oh, yeah, I think everybody was kind of just, it's Ashton Jeanty looked nice. Dylan Gabriel, appreciate you being there. The rest of them is like, yeah, I think this is Travis's to lose. But it's still a great time. The one thing about the Heisman Trophy ceremony, they can cut all the charades and hoopla. Like, let's just get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be completely honest. I didn't watch it because I knew, well, first off, the Alabama basketball game was going on at the same time, and I was more interested in that. But, I mean, we know how it goes, right? It starts at whatever says 7 or whatever. They don't hand out the trophy until 7:55, and
right.
Then that's it. So you don't really have to watch until the last 5 or 10 minutes. But I'll be honest, it was closer than I thought it was. And, I saw a lot of going back and forth because after the trophy's handed out, then, that's when all the media people start going, well, here's my ballot. This is who I voted for. And you got people going back and forth still with, snaps aren't a stat, right? And, whatever. I think we could all agree it was either Travis Hunter or Ashton Jeanty. First off, the fact a quarterback wasn't even a real factor in the race is pretty remarkable. You also didn't have, because they came out with the top 10 vote getters for the Heisman, no SEC players in the top 10 this year. So that's I don't know the last time that happened, but I'm going to assume it's been a while since no SEC players in the top 10, but it was just kind of one of those years.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, Cam Ward and Dylan Gabriel, they were just kind of
Kyle
there.
McCord finished top 10.
That's insane too.
I mean, think about this. Kyle McCord, Ohio State wanted nothing to do with him, got rid of him. He goes to Syracuse, and he finishes higher in the Heisman rankings than Carson Beck, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, Jackson Dart, Lenora Seller, like just wild stuff, man.
It was indeed. Yeah, Travis Hunter. And also I feel bad too because I feel like we're losing recipes. He thanked his girlfriend, his fiance, for putting him on Lil Wayne. And I was like, wait a minute. Wait, I know I'm a little bit older.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I know I'm a little bit older, but huh? Like what he's from Georgia. He's, probably got, Future and all those young boys.
As long as he got cultured, that's all that matters.
That's it. That's it. 205-834-9450. Your text message is always welcome. Just going back to Josh's call, David texted and said, can we get more Josh-type Auburn fans? He had a great call. I hope Auburn doesn't win a game, but when callers like Josh make fans more tolerable, he says, roll Tide.
Yeah, I thought that was a great call. And I'm not like, we want to hear Auburn fans be optimistic. That was kind of the thing coming into the day was, just over the last week and a half or so when these, we kind of knew that this was potentially in the works. It just didn't seem like there was that much optimism. But there are, look, there are both sides of the coin, right? You can look at it, a guy that's struggled early in his career, had some turnover issues, never really found his footing there at Oklahoma last year. But on the other hand, he is a former 5-star top-rated quarterback recruit that showed some nice things, especially once, he came back, I guess, later in the season after he had gotten benched for Michael Hawkins and then they went back to Jackson Arnold. Mm-hmm. You could see the growth between that and the beginning parts of the season. So there are reasons to be optimistic about it. And as we both said in the last segment, like, you're in a better spot now than you were this time last year.
Yep. Randy texts in, he says, so Auburn grabs another quarterback that beat Bama. Calzada 2.0. RTR.
Yeah, he's better than.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't even think that's really close.
Zach Calzada.
But yes.
Incarnate Word legend. I see, and also, I know they got the brakes beat off of him, but I see why Cam Ward went there right after high school. Like, when you look at their offense, it is geared for the quarterback to throw for 6,000 yards a season. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's absolutely. Like, quarterback makes all the decisions. They're in empty sets. They got bunches on one side, single receiver side. I mean, it is geared for the quarterback to just throw it all over the yard. And, unfortunately, they ran across South Dakota State, and I was unfamiliar with their game. Mm-hmm. They are legit. They're absolutely legit. And also North Dakota State, too, beating up on Mercer the way they did. North Dakota State, it's just, they're different. They need to be in the Big 12. They need to be in the Big 12. They need to be a Big 12 team.
I think they'll be one of the next to make the jump. They're
That
pretty good.
I do agree with you as well. 205-834-9450. Let's go to the phone lines. We know we're going to get some optimism here. Let's go to Don. Don wants to talk about Jackson Arnold committing to Auburn. What's going on, Don?
Hey, guys. Happy Monday to you. And shout out to you, Josh. Great call, my friend. And if you're listening, Josh, we'd love to have you at our Christmas party at Social Taco tomorrow. I need to buy you a couple of beers. We're damn Eagle, Josh. Good job. But, yeah, guys, a good weekend. I actually went over to Atlanta to go to the basketball game, and that was
impressive.
Killing Ohio State. I mean, yeah, but Conrad, I think one of our best players got hurt and might be out for a game or two. I think Miles Kelly hurt his wrist in the second half, so I don't think he's playing tomorrow night. But got another big one this Saturday in Birmingham, actually, against Purdue. And how about the SEC Saturday, guys? 13-1.
Hey, it just means more, even on the basketball court, big dog.
Yeah, but I can't figure out who lost.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, well, over in Atlanta, Florida looked great, and Georgia won. So, yeah, I mean, we had a triple header. But anyway, guys, yes, I'm excited about Jackson Arnold and everything, but Josh, my friend, if Hugh Freeze wins 7 games, he's done. He's got to win at least 8. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, including the bowl game. Yeah.
Yes, including the bowl game.
And like he said, I think it also kind of matters who you win and who you lose to and how those games, are you at least competitive against, the top tier teams, I guess, on your schedule.
Okay, well, getting Jackson Arnold was big, guys, but I think getting that offensive tackle from Virginia Tech, who's the number 1 offensive lineman in the portal, was bigger.
Yeah, that's massive. Auburn definitely has needed O-line help.
And then we got there's a couple of more offensive linemen that we want, but according to Landrum, that little running back from Connecticut's pretty good that we got too.
Yeah, he is good. I've heard really good things about him, and he had a really good year there at UConn, so that should be definitely should be a nice pickup for y'all.
And hey, we even got you, and anything bigger, we even got a punter from Oklahoma State too.
That is right. You absolutely did. I forgot about that one, but yes.
Well, fellas, real quickly, I can't wait for tomorrow. Everybody's excited about the Christmas party, and I hope all of you guys can come. And Conrad, I'm hoping Paige and Miss Jackie can come, and Damien, buddy, I hope you can be there too, my buddy. I ain't seen you in a while.
Well, we're looking forward to it, Don. It'll be a good time there at Social Taco tomorrow for our little Christmas gathering.
Absolutely. Let's go to Larry on the road. Wants to talk some ball with us this morning. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, gentlemen, enjoy the show. Just want to make a comment regarding our running back leaving, obviously in T-Town, but from words that I've been told by friends in Tuscaloosa that this kid from Mississippi, I think his name is Hill. Is that true, Conrad? The running back?
Was it DK?
Yeah.
No, that's AK.
No, that's AK.
You're talking
Deere.
about it's not Justice Hill, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Daniel Hill, is that his name?
That might be it. Yeah.
They say he has been unbelievable in practice by sources that I've heard. But guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'm just going to tell it like it is because y'all know that I'm a huge Bammer, just like Conrad. But I've got an Auburn friend. I've got numerous Auburn friends that I love very much. But I got one friend that was so high on was it Walker White? Is that his name?
Yeah.
And he just up and leaves. I don't understand that, guys. And I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything, but this friend of mine is such an Auburn guy. I love him. He's a relative of mine. When you see a beautiful Auburn sky in the morning, you'll see his face right up. I mean, he is the biggest Auburn fan I know. That's all he's talked about all y'all is the kid isn't he from Arkansas? Is that who he's talking about? The kid that was a quarterback from
Walker
Arkansas?
White, yeah, he's from Arkansas, yeah.
Yeah, I know sources that have talked a lot about him, and I don't understand that, guys. And just want to throw that out there. I always enjoy the show. Thanks a lot, guys.
Appreciate you, Larry. I mean, I think it's look, you're
kind of read the room, isn't it?
I was about to say, they just brought in a 5-star quarterback recruit, and he got Walker White got to play the end of one game this year, so it's like, they're bringing in 2 transfer quarterbacks, it looks like. They're bringing in a 5-star recruit from high school.
Right.
The writing's kind of on the wall there on top of the fact that, there's a lot of money, I'm sure, that was involved in Jackson Arnold. I'm sure there's a lot of money that was involved in Deuce Knight going there. And I'm sure you paid Walker White a good bit to come in as a 4-star recruit because he was a pretty big time recruit. But that's, I think it's a situation that can be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes change of scenery is just what you need. Let's go to Peyton, who wants to talk with us this morning. What's going on, Peyton?
Nothing much. How are y'all doing?
Doing well, brother.
Did y'all see what happened with Marshall?
Yeah. I saw they opted out of their bowl game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like the whole team hit the portal.
Yeah, they had too many players in the portal, so they didn't think they could field a competitive team, and so Louisiana Tech is taking their spot, and they're going to play Army now in that bowl game. Yep.
Yeah. What do you think Arnold will do at Auburn? I think he's going to be a good fit.
Yeah, I think, Peyton, we appreciate your call. I don't know, man. It's because the highs for Jackson Arnold, they have been good. It's just, can you take the inconsistencies and still find a way to win football games? That's the biggest thing. It's, can you accept the flaws that come with him and overcome it and still win ball games? Is that still good? Is that going to be acceptable? And I think that's kind of where the fine line is between Jackson Arnold and this Auburn, football team.
My thing is just, okay, so what happens if early in 2025 things don't look like they're going very well with Jackson Arnold? That's just kind of my question. And maybe we don't ever, have that situation present itself. Maybe he goes in there and, lights it up from week one and there's never a doubt. But then I think you look at it's just an interesting situation moving forward for Auburn because Jackson Arnold is still a young guy. You just brought in Deuce Knight, who you're very, very high on. Okay, what happens if Jackson Arnold absolutely tears it up this year? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, you're probably happy because you have a good quarterback moving forward, but I think it's safe to assume that then you have to start worrying about a guy like Deuce Knight decommitting, and that was part of the thing with Jackson Arnold coming in was this is a young guy that you're going to have to continue to develop, and you have a number of years that you're going to get with this kid. It's not like you brought in a 4-year starter that's coming in for 1 year, going to the NFL, and then you move on to Deuce Knight. So that's kind of an interesting situation. But also, I think they all know the kind of pressure that Hugh Freeze is under and the expectations that they're going to have for the season. And, if you're Hugh Freeze, you need to do whatever you can to win as many football games and save your job. What happens if, things get off to a rocky start and then you're kind of having to make difficult decisions at quarterback again, and it can kind of throw things all out of whack. So, I don't think anybody can honestly tell you right now how it's going to go because, I think we can see it from both sides, but optimism should be there. I'm optimistic about it. I'm excited to see what it looks like. But again, some of the issues like we were talking about earlier, it wasn't all Peyton Thorne. It was on the play calling and some of the coaching decisions, and those are going to have to improve as well.
Absolutely. 205-834-9450. We continue with your text message, your calls, and return here on Morning JOX and JOX 94.5. 6:53 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5. Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and of course you as well. Just getting your reaction, Auburn fans, even Alabama fans, about just Jackson Arnold taking his talents to Auburn as potential QB1. As Conrad also made a point that every scholarship quarterback on the roster last season or this past season will be gone for the Auburn Tigers. So it's a clean sweep of that quarterback room. 205-834-9450. Let's try to squeeze in Coach Dorsey this morning. Wants to talk some Auburn with us. What's going on, Coach?
Hey, guys. Man, I just want to talk about the development of the quarterback. My son, he brought it to me that Jackson Arnold would possibly go there. You know, he went there on an unofficial visit, and, man, he loved it. He loved the players. He loved the atmosphere. I just think that if they can develop a quarterback and get enough synergy and have, you know, the confidence in that guy, I think they can do some things. You know, I love the way they were playing on defense, and, man, I just think if the quarterback is better developed and with the plan to make things happen in the passing game, I mean, they definitely have to develop him because they have the athletes. And so I'm excited for him, and I hope things work out for the kids.
Absolutely, Coach. Man, we appreciate your call. And that's the thing. I don't think it's so much just because it's Jackson Arnold. It's everything that encompasses of being the quarterback for that offense. It's, you know, we saw Peyton Thorne's decision-making for 2 years, and sometimes it left you a lot to be desired. I mean, he took steps this past season, but still the mistakes were just, I mean, God, awful. And I agree with him 100%. The quarterback development. I mean, Hank Brown showed that he wasn't necessarily ready when his number was called, and who knows? But the talent you're going to have around you, it's going to be there.
And, I mean, to be fair again, I mean, this is going to be the most talented quarterback that Hugh Freeze has really ever had to work with, going back to Ole Miss and Liberty. I mean, this is, in terms of natural talent, this is the best player he's going to have. So this is kind of his time to show that he is that offensive mastermind that we all thought he was when Auburn hired him. But we all know the pressure's hot. The seat is going to be very warm going into next year. And, hey, sometimes pressure builds diamonds, though.
We shall see. But it also can bust pipes.
That is also true.
McElroy, Q, look in the morning. Those guys are next.